This is Jennifer Crosslin. There have been a few questions about the Mississippi phosphates, and Jennifer is this person to talk about that.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Crosslin. I'm an organizer with the Cherokee Concerned Citizens. Cherokee Concerned Citizens is a fence line community that organized to take action against industrial pollution. They first organized in 2013. The organization was started by Barbara Weckheser, a local resident in Cherokee subdivision. And I work closely with Barbara and another Barbara, Barbara Nelson. Both are incredible women who have been advocating for their health and the health of their families and communities for the last 8 years. I provide organizing support, and so for the last 8 years, we have been our own investigators and scientists trying to figure out what is in the air, the land, and water that is making people sick. This residential community is located not only within probably half a mile from 2 large gypsum stacks. They're also located near Chevron refinery, a gas processing plant, a chemical plant, an LNG terminal, as well as 2 large shipbuilding operation and an oil and gas manufacturing organization industry. And all of these facilities release over 2 million tons of toxins in the air annually. So Mississippi phosphates and their gypsum stacks are just one among many problems facing this community. Over the last 8 years, we've done some, lots of different citizen science, but I don't have time to get into all of that, but I did want to mention a recent health study that was conducted in partnership with Dr. Wilma Subra with Lean that found that that all of the acute symptoms and the chronic symptoms our communities are facing were associated with the 7D chemicals released by these industrial facilities into the air. So there is chronic issues facing our community, including over 35 cases of cancer that we know of, and then also chronic issues around respiratory issues, sinus, eyes, nose, throat, skin irritations, rashes, stomach issues, extreme weight loss, chronic headaches, memory loss, and so much more. According to our health survey, 47% of those surveyed, we surveyed 80 folks in the neighborhood, which accounts for about a third of all residents in that neighborhood, consider themselves sick as opposed to healthy. And the average number of days that people report being sick in this community are 9 days a month, with a large percentage of people more than half of the times of the month, so more than 15 days a month. Next slide. Mississippi Phosphates Corporation is a 40-acre site that began operating in the 1950s and produced diammonium phosphate, and it filed bankruptcy in 2014. And over the course of its operation, it produced 2 large gypsum waste stacks, and so you should be able to see this picture here pointing to the 2 gypsum stacks, and off to on the left side, you'll see that's the residential areas that are located. The first stack that started in 1958 and was officially closed the process for closure started in 2002 and was officially closed in 2005. That stack is 2,800 feet by 4,000 feet long and stands over 100 feet high, and was constructed on about 235 acres of land right near the Bayou Casat area where lots of folks fish. The other stack was started in 2005, and it started the process of closure around 2015. It is constructed at 400 million cubic feet of gypsum waste, and it was constructed on 350 acres of land, and it is about 120 feet high. Next slide. The gypsum waste is piped into enclosed ponds, and it contains high levels, just as was mentioned earlier, of fluoride, ammonia, phosphorus, and a range of heavy metals like mercury, cadmium, and lead, radioactive uranium, and radon. The pH levels range from 2 to 2.4 when they get tested. The first stack, the West Gypsum stack, is located. The first gypsum stack, the the West Gypsum Stack, sorry, getting a little confused in my notes here, presently discharges about 20,000 gallons per day and requires treatment before discharge. 1 inch of rainfall produces about 9 million gallons of the acid wastewater that must be treated. And our area has an average rainfall that is above 2 times the national average at 68 inches per year. And in 2017, due to excessive rain in hurricane season, the EPA discharged 400 million gallons of partially treated wastewater during 5 emergency bypass events. The newest pile, the East Stack, that is expected to close, is in the process of closure, and is expected to close by 2022. Both sites are currently being managed by the EPA in partnership with our Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality. The EPA officially took over the site in 2017 after the environmental trust of $12 million that was created to manage the liability of this Mississippi Phosphates facility was completely exhausted. The water treatment operations and facility maintenance cost about $1 million per month, and the total cost of the cleanup is expected to exceed $100 million. When the EPA took it over in 2017, they also found sinkholes and potential structural integrity issues that threatens the potential collapse of the stacks. Next slide. There's still a lot we don't know about these sites, but what we do know, as other folks have attested to, is that these facilities are dangerous and risky business, threatening the life and safety of workers, communities, and environment. When we first began organizing, Mississippi Phosphates was one of our first major targets, in large part because of a major incident that led to the closure of Bayou Casat in 2013. And then in 2014, the plant was shut down twice by state officials due to reports of sulfuric acid mist drifting off-site and affecting the residents in East Pascagoula, as well as other industries along the Bayou Casat. In fact, it was these other industries that reported them to MDEQ. The result of these incidents led to criminal charges brought against the company, and then ultimately, which led to the company filing bankruptcy. In 2012, 2 workers were killed as a result of explosions on site. This was after OSHA found 4 serious violations in 2009 that threatened the safety of workers. And at the time, the company was only charged $5,000 for those serious violations. That same year, in 2009, the EPA issued a consent decree requiring the company to make $2.5 million worth of corrections. The EPA said that Pascagoula plant posed a danger to the health environment because of violations, including inadequate safety, improper storage, leaks of sulfuric acid, and leaks of phosphoric acid in the unlined ditches. The order was later modified in 2011 when they found corrosive water outside of one of the stack's perimeters. Next slide. An estimated 17 million gallons of wastewater was released in Bangs Lake and Grand Bay Estuary in Bayou Casat and Tillman Creek in April of 2005. It resulted in a devastating loss of vegetation and wildlife and had a significant impact on the fisheries and the estuary. The Grand Bay Estuary is a protected estuary that is located right behind the stack. In August of 2005, that's when Hurricane Katrina hit, and this, of course, also caused extensive damage. And I have not been able to find exactly how much wastewater was released and how much damage was caused. But if you can imagine that a heavy rainfall produced an estimated 17 million gallons and caused severe damage, what a 25-foot storm surge would have done. In fact, when I started organizing with this community, one of the questions that came up was, what did it look like after Katrina? And there were reports of fluorescent lime green glow substance all around the properties, as well as, industrial equipment and oily sludge all over people's homes, inside their homes and on the outside of their properties. No one reported or no one shared that there was never any tests done in the neighborhood. And as far as we know, no one ever basically went to check to make sure that it was safe for the residents to return. In preparing for this presentation, I actually have learned a lot about the threats of stacks. There's really hasn't been a lot communicated to the residents by the EPA since they took it over, as well as the MDEQ agent, MDEQ and other agencies that have been charged with protecting public health and managing oversight of this facility while it was in operation. The health risks have been downplayed by the agency, really saying things like the radioactive component of the site, the gypsum, is not of real concern. It's a low risk to the community and to the environment. And they did not tell us about the integrity issue. At least I don't remember them saying it, that they discovered in 2017 during any of their public meetings that they held in 2018. We left with the impression that the cleanup process, once it's complete, the risk would be over. And clearly, after hearing the presentations today, that is just simply not the case. And while the cleanup process has continued, we have not been contacted by the EPA in the last 3 years. There has not been another public meeting since that first one's in 2018. And we have not been contacted about the community action group and that community engagement process that we're entitled to as part of the Superfund process, despite several attempts to reach out to the EPA and different our community liaison person that we were appointed to. So, and I don't know, I think we're already over time, so I'll save there's a image here, a video that's 5 minutes long, but it just shows, oh, you've been playing it the whole time, haven't you? I've been reading my notes. Okay, perfect. So you can't see it from the road. So when I came across this video, I was just stunned to see how big this site is and how big these ponds of wastewater are. And this is something that, like I said, is not visible to residents from where they are. And really, a lot of us don't even know the full threat to the community. We're still trying to figure that out. That's it. Thank you.